Okay, good afternoon, grade 7s. This is just a review of what we were talking about before, and its order of operations is today's work. Some of you remember doing it last year, and some of you don't remember doing it as much. Anyhow, order of operations, there's an acronym for it, and the acronym is BEDMAS, and here that is B-E-D-M-A-S. And we know what they stand for, or at least we did today when we talked about B stands for brackets, E for exponents, D for division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. You won't have to worry too much, if at all, about exponents in grade 7. You won't do very many of them at all. It's not something we have to worry about in this term. Another thing that we have to remember with doing BEDMAS is that the division and the multiplication are kind of grouped together, and the addition and subtraction are kind of grouped together. And they go in the order they appear. So you say the word BEDMAS, but if the multiplication is first in the question, you will do it first. Even though the D technically comes before it in the word, in the acronym, but the division and multiplication are interchangeable, just like the addition and subtraction are interchangeable. Here's our first example, and you'll see that you actually have three things to choose from. The question is 2 plus 6 times 2 minus 3. And we could do addition or multiplication or subtraction first. But when we look back to our acronym of BEDMAS, the division multiplication section comes before the addition or subtraction. Also, we got to remember to keep the same order. We are going to do this part first, right here, but we can't change the order. So this 2 we didn't use, we're going to put it right there, and that plus sign is going to remain right there. 6 times 2 is 12. And then you have to bring down the rest of the question, which was minus 3. Subtract 3. In this case, we have an addition and a subtraction question to do. Later in the week and later in the month, you will probably just do this in one line. But for now, just so you get the idea, we are going to do the addition first because it comes first between addition and subtraction. So 2 plus 12 is 14 minus 3. You bring that down because we haven't looked at it. Again, maybe when we're first doing it, you might just underline the piece that you're going to do each time. And that one there is 11. So, when we look at this question, 5 times bracket 6 minus 2 plus 11 times 2, we actually have 3 things we can talk about. Anyhow, sorry about that, I got interrupted. So, there are a few decisions. We could do this first, we could do this first, we could do this first, we could do this first. So now we have to look back to our acronym BEDMAS, brackets, exponents, division, multiplication, addition, subtraction, and which one comes first. After looking at it, you will know that brackets comes first, and there is some bracket work to do right here. So what we will do is underline the piece that we're going to do, and the rest of it has to go back in the same order. So that 5 hasn't been used. It's going to go right back there. We haven't used that multiplication symbol up, so it has to go there. 6 minus 2 is 4. We know that. We're going to add the 11 times 2. And what we've done is we've written the next part of the question, and we haven't changed the order in which it was written. This 6 minus 2 has ended up right there, and the rest of the question is the same. 99% of the time, when you get a mistake with this, if it's not a small calculation error, it's because you have mixed up the order of the question. Anyhow, when I'm looking at my choices now, I can multiply, add, or multiply. And in this case, we know, or should know as we practice more and more, that multiplication comes first.
And it can come 5 to...
Anyhow, later on next week, we'll probably end up doing 2 multiplication questions in this step, but for now, we will just do this part. 5 times 4 is 20, and we write the rest of the question down just like we see it. And now we have 20 plus 11 times 2. Again, every time we go back to our chart, we recognize that that multiplication will have to be done first. We do not change the order of the question. 11 times 2 is 22. And finally, 20 plus 22 is 42. I know I'm pretty quick at this. You can have a calculator, but I'm also pretty darn good at mental math and knowing my facts and adding, using chunking and all other different strategies to go a little bit quicker. And the more you practice it, you'll be quicker too. Anyhow, I'm going to do another example, and let me just get it up on the board for you. Okay, so this one's going to be a little bit different. What I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce the question. It looked like it's a little bit bigger than the ones you were doing in class today. But look at the question, decide what to do, and then what I want you to do is try to write this down in your notebook or on a piece of paper at home. Do the question, press pause on this recording in just a second. Do the question. Then when you're done and you have an answer, go back, press play, and see if the way you did it was the way I did it and you got the same answer. So go ahead and press pause now and then try it out on your own. Okay, now here's how we would do this. We have to make a decision on what comes first. And in this case, it will be brackets. We can't change the order, so we have to write down everything else the way it appears. 2 times 5 is 10. Then we write the rest of it down just like it appears. Now when we look at that whole question, there's a subtraction, addition, but there's a multiplication. We have to do it next, but again, we cannot change the order. It all has to get written down again. Don't feel bad about life that you have to keep writing all these numbers down. Math is numbers, and in this case, we're going to have to do a little more writing. No shortcuts. Shortcuts lead to errors. Anyhow, now we have 3 minus 6 plus 10 plus 8. The addition and subtraction are linked together in the order they appear. So let's do this one first. Subtraction comes before addition. And this one's going to give us an integer solution. 3 take away 6 is the same as saying it's 3, and I'm taking away 6 hot cubes if we were going to go back to that strategy. And that means it must be getting colder. It's going to be colder than 3. When we use our number line in our head and we take 6 away from 3, what we'll come up with is negative 3. Then we write the rest of the question just like we see it. In our next part, that's our question we're going to work on. It's negative 3, and I'm going to add 10. Of course, my equation will get warmer. It'll get bigger. It'll go to the right down the number line. As you count that out, it'll come up to 7 plus 8, because you just bring that last part of the question down you haven't used. And there's our final answer, 15. I'm going to give you one last example, and don't fret if you're slow at this. Always have BEDMAS written at the top of your page if you're not really quick on remembering what comes before what. And we're going to practice it all week, grade 7, so do not let yourself get frustrated on the first day. Anyhow, I'm going to do one more and do it just like we did before. Look at the question, press pause, try it out, then do it on your own. Good luck. And here's our question, 12 divided by 3 times 2 minus 5 times 2. When I look, after I take a look at BEDMAS, I know I have to do my bracket work first. You can do this in 2 separate lines because it's our first day, but you might also start next week of doing that and this in the same line. But just to make things easy, I'm just going to do the first part one line at a time. We'll take some shortcuts later. 12 divided by, it hasn't changed, 3 times 2 is 6 minus 5 times 2. I had to do the brackets first. It's what comes up first in BEDMAS. Again, all this has to be recopied. And now I do inside the brackets 5 times 2 is 10. This question, I have a choice between, I forgot to underline that. I have a choice between division and subtraction. I know that in BEDMAS, division comes first. 12 divided by 6 is 2. And I'm going to subtract 10. And just by looking, I know I'm going to have an integer solution here because I have 2 and I'm going to take 10 away from it. I'm going to take 10 hot. It's going to get 10 smaller or 10 colder. That moves left down the number line 10 places. And that'll put me at negative 8. And there's our solutions to these questions. You can do it. Practice makes perfect. Have a really good weekend.